Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and today I'm going to be talking about the books that I've read this week. This week has been a much slower week for me than usual. I think I kind of burnt myself out a bit last month. I read an awful lot of books, and I think at the end of the month I just really wanted to curl up and indulge myself in a lot of Netflix and DVD watching. So I have now watched the 3 series of Veronica Mars, the film of Veronica Mars, which for a time literally took over my life. I loved that series, and I watched it a long time ago and I really enjoyed catching up and rewatching it all. And I'm now currently ensconced in 13 Reasons Why. I read the book of this a long time ago and I can't for the life of me remember how it ends or how it all plays out, so I'm really enjoying watching that on Netflix, and I'm watching various other things as well, so it's a busy time for me in TV watching. However, I have had some time to listen to some audiobooks this week while I've been doing some work, so I'm going to talk to you about the 2 audiobooks that I finished this week, and also a book that I am part way through. So the first book that I listened to on the Audible app is American Street by Ibi Zoboi, I think that's how you say it, and this was narrated by... So this is the front cover, if you can see it on my screen. This is a relatively new book, and it was one that I'd heard a few things about and certainly heard a few people sort of talk about wanting to read, and so I thought, seeing as it was on Audible, that I would give it a go. It's the story of Fabiola. Her and her mother at the start of the story are coming over from Haiti to live with her aunt and her 3 cousins, and they are stopped at immigration and her mother is detained. And Fabiola, who is an American citizen, she was born in the USA, is allowed to continue but without her mother. When she reaches the airport and meets up with her aunt and her cousins, they take her in, and then she starts school, and she is looking for ways to try and speak to her mother and to try and get her mother free from immigration or being sent home. And we just learn what it's like for Fabiola fitting in a different place, a different culture and place that she's not used to. We find out more about her family, her aunt and her cousins, and what they've done to survive. And we find out more about how she perceives things and how they really are. I was expecting to enjoy this a bit more than I did. I quite liked the narration of this. The narrator has a Haitian accent, which I found quite interesting. It took a while for me to sort of get honed in on it and used to it, but I did enjoy that. However, there were times when the plot just felt like it was going a bit slowly. There wasn't enough activity and action, and I just didn't find that I had this connection that I wanted. Another thing I didn't like in this is that I found there was a lot of women being disrespectful to each other, which perhaps that is the way things are, I don't know, but I just didn't like it. I find it very uncomfortable in books when there is so much of that, and it especially makes it difficult for me when those are the sort of some of the main characters in this. And I just didn't like the way that the cousins' priorities were. I didn't like how Fabiola was sort of drawn into their world, and yeah, I don't know, I find it very uncomfortable when there's that sort of girl hate in books. However, I'm sure it is probably a very realistic depiction of some schools and some people growing up in some areas, so you know, who am I to say that it makes the book unrealistic? And I don't think that's true. I think it's possibly a very real situation for people. However, for me, I just found it very uncomfortable to read and it turned me off a little bit. Anyway, it was a good story, just not a great one, and so I gave it 3 stars. And then the next book that I listened to on Audible I actually own the physical copy of, and I was very kindly given as my shelf slam book from Brittany from Under the Radar Books this month, and that is Wax by Gina D'Amico. And this came up on Audible, and I had a spare credit, and I thought, why not? It's about the right length on Audible for me to listen to it in a day while I'm doing some jobs, and so I started it, and it was a really fun story and very, very unique. It's set in this town called Paraffin, and we're following our main character, Poppy, and Poppy has suffered a bit of a trauma. She's very, very dramatic. She loves music and singing and dancing. And at the start of the story, we discover that she has been publicly shamed on a talent show competition, I suppose along the lines of Britain's Got Talent or X Factor. It's a televised talent show. Something's happened at this televised show which has made her a bit of a laughing stock and also stopped her from wanting to participate so much in things, and she's feeling very isolated and on her own. However, she does have a best friend, Jill, who she ropes into lots of capers. They live in this town of Paraffin where there is a museum where there is a factory that builds candles, and these candles are all sorts of scents. It's sort of a really prominent candle factory, and one day something happens. Poppy is trying to get back at her sort of male nemesis, and she falls upon a room where she meets a lady who ends up giving her more than she bargained for, and all sorts of capers ensue. And this has got a sort of magically feel to it, and it is I'm trying to think what it was reminiscent of. I think, now don't take this the wrong way, but in terms of the sort of style of action and fast-paced movement, it reminded me of Percy Jackson in that way. Obviously a totally different theme because this is more sort of contemporary urban fantasy, I suppose, but it's got that sort of feel where it's like, and then we did this and we go do that and bang 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 and this is what's happening and we've got to try and make this quest. And so it had that sort of feel to it, but it was just, I really enjoyed it. It was just very different, very unusual, very interesting, and it was it's basically a story of her trying to uncover this plot and then stop it from what they're trying to do, you know, people taking over the town and up to no good. And it was fun and it was a good listen, and I did debate between giving this 3 or 4 stars, but it ended up being a 3-star just because it didn't quite have that extra something that brought me into the 4-star. I didn't quite connect with the main character enough to get that feeling, so although the story and the plot I thought were really good, I just missed that emotional connection which I really like with the story. But it was really good fun. I definitely recommend it if you want something fast paced. It's not a horror. I don't know if it's tipped as a horror, but it's not scary at all. It's just fast paced and a bit of a action adventure, I would say, with some sort of fantastical magical elements in there, and it was really good fun. And then I am currently partway through Middlemarch by George Eliot. This is the book that I will be reading this month, throughout the whole month. It sort of coincided nicely with Tome Topple, which, although I'm not officially doing, I think this would probably count for it. And I'm reading it with the lovely Janet from Swirly Girly Reads and Tracy from Flamingo Reads, and we're reading 4 chapters a day. I think Janet will say with me that we are both struggling. Even 4 chapters, which is only sort of 40 pages, is taking us an awful long time to read every day. We're both finding it a bit dry and a bit slow. I am specifically finding it a little bit depressing. It feels like we're just having a look into how everything is a bit shit, really, for all of these people. And so in order to get myself through this, I am reading the chapters every day, and I am also following along with the story, watching, because I don't think I watched it back in the 90s. The Middlemarch BBC drama, I've bought that to watch alongside, so I'm hoping that will give me a little bit less, sort of make it less dry for me, because I am finding that parts of this are very slow and a bit tedious, and so it's helping pull me through. But we're all determined we're going to finish this book and we're going to read it. I'm just a little bit disappointed because it's not proving to be the page turner or the great read that I was expecting. So we shall see, but I'll catch up with you a bit more next week to let you know how we're getting on and whether it's picked up anything anymore for me. Anyway, that's what I've been listening to and reading. I hope you've all had a good week, and I'm certainly hoping that I sort of get my groove back in the reading, but hey ho, I'm just taking it as it comes, and I'm still listening and still taking in stories. I'm just allowing myself a bit of a breather to watch Netflix if that's what I'm feeling like. So let me know what you've been reading. Any 5-star reads this week? Let's chat in the comments as always, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.